buying for me, it is the job, like I know, but I think the next step is now to work in fashion. So I tried again, the trainee scheme came up and I was like, you know what's there to lose? Like, I'm just gonna go for it. I just went through all the stages and I was like, okay, wait, this is actually gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna get my job in fashion.
Welcome to the Life at Next podcast.
Thank you for having me.
That's all right. So do you want to introduce yourself and what part of the business you're in?
My name's Dwaran. I'm the trainee buyer on Heels, Flats and Sports. I work in women's wear, non-clothing. Yeah.
Nice. Been here long?
Just over a year. I think it was a month ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Wicked. Good first year. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it's gone fast. It's gone really fast.
It's a fast business, right?
Yeah. You don't realise. I think when I hit my year mark, I think I was just working on a computer. I was like, wait, hold on. I've been here a year. It goes really fast and you don't see it because you work so far in advance and then you realise how fast-paced the business is.
Yeah, 100%. It is a real fast-paced business. And in terms of, so you're a trainee buyer, is that right? Yeah. So being a trainee buyer, talk me through what that is, because, we've had a few trainees on here.
Yeah.
But in your own words, what is that?
I just think someone that is there to aid and help the buyer and the assistant buyer just get that product launched and, really make sure that the samples arrive on time, photo shoots, making sure that photo shoots leave on time and you've got the samples. And a huge part of it is making sure that the team knows where everything is and things like that. So it's just, I always feel like, I say to my team, I was like, almost like the coordinator. Like, right. Okay, does everyone, like, what does everyone need now? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit like that. Yeah.
And I guess, but are you still having input in terms of the ranges? And
huge amounts.
Oh, you
are? Like creativity, especially on my team. Like, I love working on my team. They're so great.
Nice.
So my buyer and my assistant always give me that opportunity to be like, well, what do you think? And they always give me, when we're range building, I think they always give me that opportunity to be like, okay, so what have you seen on TikTok or what have you seen on Instagram? Or like, I'm a bit of like an avid, like, I love looking at runway trends and things like that. So I'd be like, oh, have you seen, to our designer, which I equally love, I was like, oh, have you seen this trend and that trend? And we'd build a relationship that way. So it's nice. I think they enjoy having like me having an input, and equally I enjoy it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, even when I'm making like aesthetic comments on a shoe, they'd be like, okay, don't ask us, what do you think? And it'd be like, it's nice. It makes me feel involved and included, and which I don't know, they don't have to, but they do anyway.
Yeah. And did you feel that from like day one almost?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I feel like, I think I'm quite outspoken, so it wasn't like I was like breaking out of my shell. Like, right. I think I was just there like, oh, I'm really excited to finally work in fashion. Like, I'm finally here. So I kind of was like, oh my God, I've loved this and I love this and I love this. And I think they reciprocated that and they were like, okay, if you're so vocal, then yeah, like let's get you involved, which I think I really enjoy.
And where's that love of fashion come from then? Because I'm already getting like, I can hear your excitement build the more and more you talk about the product. So where's that come from?
I've always had an interest in fashion. I think ever since I was like maybe 12 or 13. Like, I remember when like if it's been the Met Gala, because obviously that happens overnight, or if it's like runway season, like in February or September, you just think like, I'd be like on my computer Googling like, oh my God, what's this designer done and what's that designer done? And then I'd go to my friends at school and be like, oh, did you see this? Did you see what they wore at the Met Gala? And my friends would be like, we don't care. And I'm like, okay, we don't share similar interests. But it's like, I think from then, and also I've always had a love for women's wear. I just think women's wear, like the way it's presented in high end, high street, I think it's so cool. And like, because I always used to say to my friends, like, menswear is so like, I feel like they're always catching up. But women's wear is always at the forefront of like experimental fashion or like some really cool like concepts and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And so have you always been working or had a career in fashion then?
No, I wish.
Oh, right. Okay. No. So it didn't start.
No, I'm like a completely different route. I have a law degree, so I went to law school. But before that, obviously, in where, like, when I was growing up, me and my siblings or my wider family, everyone went to like do traditional routes. So like for them, it was like a more, okay, you're you know, you go to school and you have a degree and then you go and have a traditional job and a 9 to 5 or whatever it is, or being a doctor or a banker or a lawyer. That's kind of like what the you know, benchmark was. And for me, I was like, okay, so that's going to be, that's me. Like there's no kind of other option. And I've always had an interest in law. So for me, it was like, okay, I guess I've got to do something. And this kind of interests me outside of fashion. So I'm going to go and do that. So I did a law degree and it was tough. Like it was hard, especially when you're fighting. You're like, oh gosh, like I really don't want to do this, but I guess I'm too deep into it now to drop out or do anything like that. So I was like, okay, fine. And also no one in my like circle works in fashion. So I couldn't even be like, okay, like how did you get into it? Like as, you know, as someone from your ethnic origin, or how did you find, you know, explaining your job to your mom? I feel like that's a huge thing as well.
Is it?
Yeah, because I don't think my mum fully still understands what I do. Whereas like my sisters or, you know, my cousins, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm a doctor or I'm a banker. And it's like, yeah, they know what they're doing. Whereas like I try to explain to my mum and she's like, wait, so is it the shop that you work at? Or like she doesn't get it, which is fine. But obviously it would have been nice to have someone there to be like, yeah, like you can explain it this way or that way. But yeah, so I worked at a law firm in the fraud department. I want to say like 2.5 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
God, you really gave it a good go then.
I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going and, you know, build my career in law. And it's a good career trajectory. Like it's a good career to have. So I'm like, okay, I'm really going to give it my all. Like I'm not going to give up. And then I think towards the end, I was like, this isn't for me. Like I cannot work. I was like thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be here like 60 years old. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to regret my whole life if I just don't give it a go, like give fashion a go. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll try get a career in fashion. And then obviously my friend who works here at Next was like, you'd be great at this job. Like give it a go, like apply for it. So I was like, fine, I'll apply for it. And I did apply for Next and they said you just don't have enough experience, which I think is fair enough. Yeah. Because I don't have any experience in fashion.
From a lawyer to a buyer.
So I think obviously their cautions about me was, you know, warranted. Like, you know, can you come in and just switch like that? Especially having no buying experience either. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll try get a job in buying. So I did.
Smart.
Yeah, I was like, okay, fine. I can't now go to fashion school. So, you know, school for me has been there, done that. I need to now do buying bit. So I went to get a job in food buying.
Okay.
Which is so different to fashion buying.
I imagine. Is the fundamentals similar?
Yeah, the fundamentals, like the buying role of it was the same. So you're just making sure that you've got the stock, you're approving things on time, you know, you're just making sure that you're working on a critical path and a launch schedule. But the product was so different, like the creative input was so different. With food, you're just worried about the taste and the texture. And our food technician would, because I used to work in tea, so I'd drink like 40 cups of tea and it'd be like, the food technician would be like, so how does this cup of tea make you feel? And I was like, I can taste nothing. So I don't know how this makes you feel. But yeah, so I think it's so different. And then I was like, okay, love buying. I think this is really cool.
So
like I think
you figured that out.
The satisfaction of like walking into a store and be like, that's me. Like I
really?
did that. I did
nice,
that. Like
nice.
I remember I used to walk into this supermarket and be like to my mom, like, Mom, look, this is me. And she'd be like, what? This is, and I was like, yeah, this is me. This is what.
Did she get it?
Yeah, I think she then understood. She was like, okay, so what's the process? Like, I think then she was like, she's materialized what I do. Yeah. Like she knows what I do now. So then she was like, okay, so what's the process here then? So then I feel like then she understood. And then I was like, okay, buying for me, it is the job. Like I know, but I think the next step is now to work in fashion. So I tried again, the trainee scheme came up and I was like, you know what's there to lose? Like, I'm just going to go for it. I have my job in buying. So worst comes to worst, I can just stay. But I think I just went through all the stages and I was like, okay, wait, this is actually going to happen. Like, I'm going to get my job in fashion. And then I did.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Wicked. Well done. Like, that's what I'd say. That's like the theme I get from that is massive perseverance from that. Because, you know, like and quite a bit of bravery as well, you know. And, you know, everyone's got in their own families or cultures those sociological pressures that come with it, you know, 100%. No matter what it is. And to, first of all, you know, give that a go and also kind of show the respect to that, but then go, this really isn't right for me. Yeah. That's massive. And then to kind of get, you know, a bit of a setback, but then go, well, you could have easily just gone, I'll just go back to law then.
Yeah,
couldn't
you?
You?
Yeah, that was like, that was for me, that was an option. I kind of gave myself a deadline and I was like, okay, so if I don't get my job within the next year, I think I'm going to have to go back to law.
Yeah.
Because like career-wise, like I don't know how long I can do food buying for. Like it really isn't for me.
Yeah.
So I think, weighing up the two options, I thought, yeah, I think I'm going to go back. But yeah, I think anyone that wants to do a career change, especially after you've graduated, like I think I'm a little bit older than most of the trainees as well. So I was like a bit like, oh, like I'm going to have to start from scratch again. Like this is the third time I'm doing it. I was a bit it was a bit daunting. But then now I look back and think, oh my God, I'm so glad I just did it.
Yeah, but I guess as well, you must have got so much experience that, if you look at different trainees and stuff, if someone's just come straight out of uni, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you've built up this, you've built up resilience, you've built up your knowledge of buying, you've built up understanding of like working in a workplace.
Yeah, that's a huge one, I think.
Yeah,
I think working in a workplace, like office etiquette,
yeah,
like email management, like no one teaches you that. Like one day someone just says to you, like, why does your inbox look like that? And you're like, oh, like I didn't realize
should
they
it
were
not?
like, I don't,
yeah,
should I have a system here in place? So I think I'm grateful that I did it this way. And I don't think I would change my path into fashion. No,
not at all.
I think working in food buying gave me the resilience to be like, buying is a fast, tough, experience. Like it isn't like an easy job. But I think that gave me like the foundations to be like, okay, regardless of where I go, this is what the benchmark for this sort of job is. I think the product just being different is just something that you either are interested in or you're not.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you do a career change? I'm guessing like. And how did you find it?
No, not really. Well, I've been here for 15 years.
Oh wow! And you've done the same thing for 15 years?
No, not really. No. So I wasn't. I mean, podcast was definitely not on the end goal of the career plan.
Yeah.
But no, I started my career at Next in the PR sample team. So I basically used to work with the buyers, get the samples, so that they could go off to, well, at the time it was press and magazines. Now it will be influencers
and like TikTok
and stuff like that. So I used to do a lot of that. I did that for a couple of years, and then I got did that for a year or so. Then went into PR, and then social media. I'm a little bit older, so then social media started really kicking off.
Yeah.
And I was like, hang on a minute, this is going to be massive. So Next started expanding into that, did that, worked over in marketing, doing PR and social media, and then just social media for 9 years or so, and then moved over to a new role to start evolving the employer brand, which again, just started as social media, and now we're doing stuff like this.
Did you feel like you're starting from scratch when you...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's 100%. So It's something funny that I speak to a lot of people about. It's weird, especially here. Like you get to a point where you get really good at what you're doing, and then you will either get promoted or you'll move to a new role. Mm-hmm. And everything that you were good at, you're now not doing anymore.
100%.
So you're like, hang on a minute, what's going on here? What's going on here? So it's quite a weird feeling, really.
I think that's a huge part as well. Like when you go through your trainee scheme, I think towards the end, like I think you can't start thinking like, okay, I'm I know exactly what I'm doing as a trainee, but then you have the possibility of moving to an area which is a completely different, product group to you. Like I work on hard fabrics like shoes, and I've like to think that I've learned the technicalities of footwear. But then I could move on to fabrics, and then it would almost be starting again. So I think me starting again my career like 3 or 4 times, I think has built a little bit of resilience to be like, okay, even if I do move teams, or even if I move to a different team that has different fabrications, I think I can do it because I've come from law to fashion. So any change after that isn't going to be as drastic as that.
No, I think you'd be fine because you're not gonna have to relearn the brand.
Yeah.
You get the brand. You've been here over a year. You've been here a year. You'll understand that. It's just learning like you say, the technicalities of that product
100%,
area, which again is probably the exciting part as well because you're building your skills up, and then the more skills you get,
and it's something new.
Yeah, something new, some new challenge. All of that. That's only going to help you in the long run as
100%.
well. Yeah. So I think that'll be really, really like interesting.
Yeah, I think it will be like moving on and like working my way around the business as well. Like, because I think I eventually will. Like I think like the merch on my team, I think she's worked on every single department in the whole business, like home, men's. Oh, I don't know if she's worked on menswear, but like women's wear. Like she started on non-clothing and now she's back on non-clothing. Yeah. And she kind of goes like, yeah, like I've loved every area. It's so different. And I think, yeah, when I do talk to her, I'm like, okay, it's not that daunting to move to a new area. No. I mean, you know, it is what it is. You've just got to like enjoy it and take it with both hands, kind of. Run with it.
And just think as well, just think of all the different connections and relationships and knowledge you'll gain from all the different people that you are, 100%. Rather than just staying on one team. You'll learn so much and be able to build, especially in product. I think it's essential. Yeah. And then that impacts the product to make the product fresher as well, doesn't
100%.
it? But why? One of the things you said there, which was a very interesting way of coming into Next, by the way, one of the most interesting I've heard. Why Next? You said fashion. You want to be in fashion, but obviously there's a lot of fashion people out there. But why then pick Next?
I think obviously I live in Leicester, so that's like a huge part of like tick. Like I don't have to move anywhere. And then when my friend told me about Next, I was
the one that works
the one that works here. She was like, oh, I'm going to go work in fashion. And I was like, oh, where? And she was like, oh, I'm going to work at Next. I was like, oh, so you're going to move to London then? Because my assumption was that all the head offices are in London. And she was like, no, the head office is in Leicester. I was like, oh, great. Like, so is it a small office? Like, is it just like they have a branch out here? And they were like, no, this is like the big flagship Next head office. I was like, oh, wow. So like all the big decisions happen in here then. So, and then I was like, okay, so proximity check. And then she was telling me about Next. She was like, Next, they're very like, you know, they've bought a lot of businesses, they're growing. And then even when I was working at my law firm, I'd always hear like, oh, Next acquires another brand or Next is growing. And then you hear about all of these retailers, which sadly like don't make it.
Yeah,
and you think, oh, but Next is still going. Like you really think, oh, like what are they doing there? Like what is so different about them compared to other retailers that, you know, aren't doing so well? And you think, okay. And then when I applied to work at Next, because I was like, okay, they seem like a growing business. They seem like, you know, they're getting big market share in the high street like retailers. You realize that everyone wants to work at Next. Yeah, the amount of applicants that you have and the amount of people that you're, you know, up against when you're applying for these sort of roles. Because I think everyone wants to work in fashion. So like I'm up against like people that have got fashion degrees or like have got like fashion management course experience or have worked in other retail head offices. So you're like, okay, like I'm up against loads of people that want to work for Next. So you think, okay, yeah, this apparently, you know, this is the brand that everyone wants to be at. So why should I not?
No, it's a really good reason. I mean, I think, you know, the way you've summarised that up is really well. And I think the main word I picked out there, and from what I'm saying, is that growth seems to be a big, I know for me it is as well. Like, I really like the fact that, you know, I'm not just in an environment where everyone's going, oh, we're all right as we are. Yeah. It's like, what are we doing to grow today? And the more people you speak to, the more you realise that that's across the board as well in all departments. Yeah,
100%. I think even on product, like the brief is always like newness, innovation, like
wicked.
What can you do to, you know, reimagine the range? Like let's bring, you know, loads of different customers in, not just the ones that we've had for years. You know what I mean? Like and I think that's the most exciting part for me and the other trainees that are on the floor because they're always like, okay, so what are the young people like? I think I'd kept mentioning TikTok in my selection meetings and the design manager on the floor was like, so why don't you just make like a focus group and just tell me what's trending on TikTok every month? And it's like, that's what we do now on our floor.
Do you?
Yeah.
Talk me through that then. How do you do that?
So every month or so, me and the other girls on our floor,
non-clothing,
yeah. We it's so strange because when my sister looks at me working, or like she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "This is actually for work." And she'll be like, "Okay." But yeah, so then we get together and we put together a document and we'll just be like, okay, so what have you seen on TikTok for your area? So if it's like I'm seeing loads of trends about like a certain shoe or a sock or whatever it is, we just all collate that together.
Wicked.
And be like, this is what we're missing. Like, everyone is talking about this on TikTok, or almost like, oh, it's confirmed. Like, you don't need to be worried about going after this trend. Like, it is live on TikTok now. And then we present that to a design manager. And it, honestly, it's one of the most fun meetings I'm in. Because it's so fun, because you just like, you know, you scroll through TikTok in your personal life, but then for it to be part of your job, you think, oh my God, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Like,
and it must be nice as well if you've all come up with something that you're like, this is going to be a trend, and then you do see it actually land as well.
100%. And you think, oh, like, yeah, like I had some contribution towards really pushing this trend. Or if it's like in selection, they're like, oh, I don't know. And you say, no, like conviction, like this is going to be a huge trend. And then it like flourishes and comes into fruition. You think, yeah, like we made the right decision there. Like, you get a bit worried, like, oh, I hope it doesn't drop off. But yeah, no, it is. I think it is like, it's nice to be like, have that sort of input. And it's nice for me and the rest of the trainees on the floor to be like, yeah, this is like our little own project, and we get to decide what's going on in here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's one of those things that it's a great example of what I know the management team and the directors of all across the business are trying to do, is instill that belief and kind of the ability to have an opinion and an idea and run with it. Like, what a perfect, like the design managers come to you like, well, why are you not doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and you're like, oh, okay, great. Let's go.
Do it. Let's do it.
Which is, which is literally the whole ethos of what we do here. It's not like, oh, let's run this by an internal focus group and do that. Just take it and run with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And if something comes of it, but equally that might happen. And if it didn't work, we'd literally go, right, that's not working. Stop.
At least we tried.
At least we tried and try something else.
Yeah.
No, that's really, really interesting. What's been kind of, is there anything that surprised you coming into the brand?
I think obviously when you work in buying, you kind of, like, oh, how what it takes to like get this product into stores. But I didn't realize, like, obviously with food, you just kind of be like, okay, like, does it taste nice? Yeah, stop producing it, put it in the packets and put it out in store. Yeah, it isn't like it doesn't go through as many like approvals. Obviously, for me, it was just kind of like, yeah, packaging looks nice, it tastes nice. The actual like, okay, does it have like allergies and stuff? It's managed by somebody else. And like the legal aspect of it. But then for me, like, that's it. And then you just see it in stores, and we'd buy, I think the buying lead times were so much smaller. But here, when I came, I was like, when are you buying for? And they're like, oh, next year, June. And I was like, it's November. Like, how do you even know like what you're doing? And I think that's what's really surprising to me. Right. I think that because I knew lead times, I knew critical paths, but I didn't realize it was that far in advance. And I think sometimes now I've been in it for a year, sometimes I'm like, gosh, maybe we're even a bit too late. Like, do you know what I mean?
Even
now I'm like, oh my gosh, they need that time. The product needs to get on the vessel. Like, now the nitty gritty. Like, merch will tell you, like, you need to approve this because otherwise you won't have it on time. You're thinking, gosh, I wish we signed this off earlier now. But then, like, when I first came in, I was like, you guys are a bit eager. Like, like, how do you even know what's going to be? I think that's a huge one. How do you even know what's going to be trending in June and it's November?
And I guess that's where the knowledge, the skill, the experience, the research, all those attributes really come into play.
Yeah, 100%.
Massively.
Like the design team, like they constantly look at runway and things like that and think, wow, like it's very, very influential.
And I guess that's why having a team is really important then, from, the merch telling you like, this is the deadline and kind of making sure that
everyone's in line. Everyone's in line.
They'll love that. And then, like you say, the designers bringing that inspiration and trend, and the technologists as well, ensuring that the product's actually, well, it's the best quality, because that's, one of the biggest things we're known for as well. So
I think it is really cool. And I also think it's really cool how much everyone travels. Like, I love traveling. I enjoy traveling a lot. But yeah, I was like, I think when I came, my bio was like, I've just come back from New York and I'm going to China, and I'm then going to go to an inspiration trip in Paris. I was like, whoa, like, I didn't realize you needed to travel this much. But it's not, I think there's so much benefit because you see so much inspiration everywhere. Yeah. And then when they go to China, you think, okay, like they're building that relationship with the supplier. Whereas when I worked in buying previously, I didn't even know who the suppliers were. It wasn't something that we needed to do. So
big change.
Big, huge change. Yeah, I think even like me as a trainee, building that relationship with the suppliers, like knowing that, I need those samples sent in time, like, making sure that they know how important it is and reiterating that. I think that's a huge part of my job as well.
You've mentioned there, earlier a couple of times around like how when you came to the campus, because it is effectively a campus.
It's huge.
It's huge. Like, what's that been like? That experience of coming on campus, like, and kind of being here, being here and like being in that team environment. How's that been?
I think I've always worked in really corporate jobs, like super corporate jobs. So when I came here, I was like, oh, I want to gauge like how corporate everyone is. Like, I don't want to go in and be like, like, I don't, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't give 110% of my personality yet. Like, I don't know. I need to
test the waters.
Be like, oh, is everyone going to be okay? Like, so at first I was like, okay, everyone can wear their own clothes. So I was like, okay,
tick.
Yeah, tick. Yeah. I'm like, thank God. I hate wearing smart clothes. It isn't who I am. So I was like, okay, thank God. No more shirts, ties, and things like that. And then I was like, okay, like, can I be friends with my manager? Like what sort of like vibe is it? And everyone was just so lovely. I get on so well with my team. And like even the fact that we've got like restaurant on site and a coffee shop, it's like I've never worked in a corporate office where that was like do you want to go grab a coffee, like, and just walk around the campus during the summer. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I've never worked in that sort of environment. You kind of just go in, do your 9 to 5 and then go home.
Right.
Like,
really?
That's
what you were used to.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to. Like, it wasn't never a kind of thing like, like, we've got a pond, let's go sit by the pond. Like, when I tell my old work colleagues, like, there's a pond, they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, there's a pond.
There's a massive pond.
There's a restaurant. There's coffee shops. We have a juice bar, and they're all looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, where do you work? But yeah, so then for me, I think I came here and I was like, it's not as corporate as I thought it was going to be, and I think it's nice. I think I thrive in those sort of environments. Like, I like where it's like there's really good interpersonal relationships, and I'm able to be like, I actually really like having you here, so I'm really going to work really hard for you because we built that relationship, and vice versa. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So
no, I totally agree. It's a very. I always remember like first couple of weeks I was here, and that was a long time ago. But you're walking around, everyone's like looking, you asking if you're all right and having a good day, and I'm like, Is this normal?
Yeah, or is someone pulling my leg? Like, I'm in like in stimulation.
Have I got like new person? Please talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, but I thought, right, maybe after a couple of weeks that'll die off because people will keep seeing me. But it still happens now.
No, it's so lovely. Everyone is so nice.
Everyone like it, and at first I thought, maybe it's just like kind of just a select few or not genuine, or it's just a bit of a facade. But it is really like if someone's asking if you're all right, they're generally asking, are you all right?
And I think it is genuine, like, especially like on my floor. Like I like to talk to everyone on my floor because they're just all so lovely. Like I like when I'm walking around, I'm like, oh, hey, like, how was your weekend? Or what did you do? How's your selection going? And I think it's nice when you build relationships like that, because not just because you build like almost like a friendship, but it's almost like, if it's like, if you need to do a bag match back, can you go and talk to the trainee on bags?
You've got it.
And I'm like, I love the trainee on bags. Yeah, sure. Do you know what I mean? I'll go, or if it's like, let's see what license is doing. Cause let's just, it is just all about inspiration. I'll go speak to the license trainee and be like, what are you doing then? Do you know what I mean? It's really nice for us to be so like close to each other physically, and also be like easy enough for me to be like, what are you doing there? Or when's your selection? Or can I have this room for an hour more, please? I just need to write this down. And they'll be like, yeah, fine, because we built that relationship.
Yeah, that is it's such a good point. It makes the working day and the working situations and those conversations where talking to someone you've never met before a lot more efficient and a lot more easy. And everyone kind of just wants to help then.
I bet you, because obviously you talk to so many people, I bet you've got so many like, I can ask that person to do that.
Yeah, you do build up mind you, do you know what's weird? And it's only come in the past 2 years. So you absolutely know loads of people. But then what I've known is as the brand's grown, there's more new people come in. And obviously I'm now getting older. And now I'm like, I don't know as many people as I used to.
Yeah.
So I'm like, God, maybe I need to get like myself back out there and start building these relationships again, because like yourself and other people, they come into the brand. So it's kind of, I do know like the areas to go to and stuff like that. And I'm always happy to help people. It'll be like, well, if I don't know the exact person, I guarantee this person will.
Yeah.
Like there's always
And I think there's so much benefits in that. Like I actually think like your working day becomes so much easier. Like our merch on our team, I think knows the whole office. So whenever I'm like, oh, how do I fix that? She'll be like, oh, and she'll think like, contact this person on this here. And I'm like, how did you even know that? Like, and it is, I think it's beneficial and it's nice to be like, to know everyone is like, we're all one business.
Yeah, 100%.
And we want to succeed. So they will help you out.
Yeah, definitely. And if you were going to give, if anyone, like, you know, say there's someone in your position that's sitting in a law firm going, I want to be a buyer, what advice would you give them?
Oh, keep going. Do you know, even if they say no, you're talking to the wrong person.
Right.
Like, just keep going. You will be able to explain your job to your mum. Like, she'll get it. Like, they'll be 100% fine. You'll get here and be like, yeah, this is what I wanted to do. Like, just keep going. Like, you'll get there. That's the advice. That's the advice I'd give myself even. Yeah. Like, if I could look back and tell them, like, because I could have easily given up, but I didn't. So I'll just tell anyone that's listening, just keep going. Like someone will hold that door open for you and then you'll get in and then you'll flourish. So just keep going.
Nice. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's been great talking.
Perfect.